There are days in football history that feel larger than life, moments when legends collide, when eras meet face to face, and when the sport seems to hold its breath. Among those unforgettable days is the one that fans still whisper about. The day Cristiano Ronaldo, a rising force of nature, delivered a performance so powerful, so overwhelming, that it symbolically marked the end of Ronaldinho's golden era. People don't mean it literally, of course. Ronaldinho's retirement came years later. But in terms of influence, dominance, and the shift of global superstardom, there was a moment when one king stepped aside and another claimed the throne. This is the story of that day. To understand it, you have to go back to a time when Ronaldinho was the heartbeat of football. His smile, his swagger, his effortless brilliance, everything he touched left the world amazed. He brought joy to the game like nobody else. Defenders were decorations, the ball was a friend, and stadiums turned into carnival grounds whenever he played. At Barcelona, he became the face of a beautiful revolution. With magical dribbles, elasticos, no-look passes, free kicks shaped like poetry, and celebrations filled with pure happiness, Ronaldinho wasn't just a footballer, he was spectacle incarnate. But football is a cycle. Stars rise, stars fade, and somewhere in the shadows, a new talent prepares to take over. Enter Cristiano Ronaldo. In the early days, he was the skinny kid with too many stepovers, the boy from Madeira who dared to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. At Manchester United, under the watchful eye of Sir Alex Ferguson, he transformed from a flashy winger into a relentless machine, stronger, faster, sharper. He studied the game, he shaped his body like a weapon, and every match felt like a warning, something unstoppable was brewing. And that brings us to that iconic day. The day Manchester United faced Barcelona in the Champions League, the moment when two worlds stood on opposite sides of the pitch. Ronaldinho, the magician known for making football feel easy, and Cristiano Ronaldo, the warrior determined to climb to the top through blood, sweat, and explosive ambition. One represented the purity of art, the other the power of evolution. The match was more than a semifinal. It was a cultural shift. The atmosphere was electrifying, red and blue banners, chants echoing around the stadium, cameras zoomed in on the two biggest superstars on the pitch. Even the commentators could feel it. Something historic was about to happen. Ronaldinho walked onto the field with the same calm confidence he'd always carried, smiling, juggling the ball as if the pressure didn't exist. Ronaldo walked in with the aura of a man on a mission, eyes focused, jaw clenched, no smile, no games. Two approaches, two philosophies, one pitch. From the whistle, the contrast was clear. Ronaldinho's touches were still elegant, but the explosiveness of his prime had dimmed. The flicks were there, the vision was there, but defenders weren't as afraid as they once were. Age, lifestyle, and the natural curve of athleticism had begun their quiet work. Cristiano Ronaldo, on the other hand, was a storm. Every time he got the ball, Barcelona felt the danger. His speed was unmatched, his power frightening, his hunger visible even through the screen. He ran like he had something to prove, not to the fans, not to the world, but to himself. This was his moment, and he was ready to seize it. Then came the sequence that fans still talk about today. A long ball found Ronaldo on the wing. He controlled it instantly, lifted his head, and burst forward. Puyol, one of the toughest defenders of his generation, stepped up. But Ronaldo wasn't having it. One explosive acceleration, one cut, and he left Puyol stumbling. Barcelona scrambled. A second defender came, then a third, and Ronaldo kept going, pushing through them like a train breaking through walls. By the time he unleashed his shot, powerful, precise, unstoppable, the stadium erupted. It wasn't just a goal. It was a declaration. That moment felt like a passing of the torch. Cameras caught Ronaldinho watching, expression unreadable. The magician who once made the world dance was now watching someone else command the stage. It wasn't envy. It wasn't regret. It was recognition. He could see what everyone else was seeing. A new king had arrived. As the match continued, the divide became more obvious. Ronaldinho had flashes of brilliance, but they faded quickly. Ronaldo, however, was everywhere, tracking back, sprinting forward, shooting, assisting, fighting for every inch. He wasn't just playing the game. He was redefining it. By the final whistle, Barcelona were defeated, and Manchester United moved closer to greatness. But the bigger story wasn't the scoreline. It was the symbolism. For the first time, the world looked at Cristiano Ronaldo not as a young talent, but as the man who would shape the next era of football. For Ronaldinho, this match was a mirror, a moment where he saw the gap between who he was and who he now had to accept he had become. He wasn't finished, not yet. But the sparkle of invincibility, the aura of untouchable brilliance, it had dimmed. And that's why fans say Cristiano Ronaldo made Ronaldinho retire. Not because he forced him out physically, but because he represented the new level of intensity and professionalism that defined modern football, something Ronaldinho, with his free-spirited lifestyle, was never built for. After that match, the paths of these two legends went in opposite directions. Ronaldo rose higher and higher. Ballin d'Ors, Champions League trophies, league titles in multiple countries. Records shattered every season. He became the embodiment of discipline, ambition, and longevity. His success was not gifted, it was carved through relentless effort. Ronaldinho, meanwhile, drifted into the later stages of his career. There were still magical moments, goals, smiles, celebrations, but they weren't enough to cover the truth: his golden age had ended. Football was changing. The pace was faster, tactics stricter, conditioning more demanding. Ronaldinho's love for late nights, parties, and comfort made it impossible to keep up with the new generation of super athletes like Ronaldo. Still, in the hearts of fans, there was no rivalry. Just admiration for two artists who shaped the game in different ways. Ronaldinho gave us joy, the purest form of football delight. Ronaldo gave us inspiration, the blueprint of impossible work ethic made real. One taught us how beautiful football could be. The other showed us how powerful the human body and mind can become when pushed to the limit. And that's why this story still matters. Because it wasn't really about retirement. It was about evolution, about the end of one era and the beginning of another. About watching a legend pass the torch to a young man determined to carry football into the future. Years later, interviews and documentaries confirmed what fans suspected. Even Ronaldinho himself admitted that maintaining peak form was difficult, that he didn't have the discipline Cristiano had. But he never expressed bitterness. He respected Ronaldo deeply, calling him one of the greatest ever. And Ronaldo returned the respect, saying he grew up admiring Ronaldinho's genius. Two legends, two crowns, two timelines crossing in one unforgettable moment. When fans say, "It was the day Cristiano Ronaldo made Ronaldinho retire," they mean it as a symbol. It represents the moment global football shifted. Barcelona's once unstoppable magician met the ruthless precision of a new superstar. And from that day forward, the narrative changed. Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't the future anymore. He was the present. As years passed, the myth grew stronger. Clips resurfaced. Fans analyzed every detail. Debates filled social media, comparing styles, legacies, personalities. But one thing remained clear: that day was a turning point. Football didn't just witness a match. It witnessed the handover of greatness. Today, when we look back at their careers, we see two giants who shaped generations. Ronaldinho inspired millions to fall in love with football. Cristiano inspired millions to chase their dreams with all their strength. One taught us to smile. The other taught us to work. Together, they gave the sport a balance of magic and perfection. And so the story lives on. Not as disrespect, not as rivalry, but as one of the most poetic transitions in football history. A moment when the sport evolved before our eyes. A moment when one legend quietly stepped back, and another stepped forward with unstoppable force. Football always remembers days like that. Days when greatness meets greatness and creates something unforgettable. The day Cristiano Ronaldo made Ronaldinho retire is one of those stories, not because it's literal, but because it captures the beauty, the heartbreak, the evolution, and the raw emotion that make football the greatest drama in the world. And even now, years later, fans still watch those clips with chills. Because on that day, two icons wrote a chapter together, one ending, one beginning, and football was never the same again.